Hey guys, welcome back. We're about to start a new project today that I'm very excited about because this project's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about lines, sketching, color families, lizards, all that cool stuff. So just bear with me while I go over this first part. I want to go over something today that's going to be very helpful in your art, and that is using a pencil first. We're going to be using a pencil today, so you're going to need to find a pencil, you're going to need a piece of paper, and you're going to need an eraser. Your pencil might have an eraser on the end of it, or maybe you have a little pencil eraser cap, or maybe you have an actual eraser. But you're going to need a pencil and an eraser to start this project. You will also need something to outline with in a little bit in black, probably. I'm going to use a marker, but if you have a Sharpie or a black crayon or even a black color pencil, that would work. So we need a pencil, an eraser, and something to outline with, and your piece of paper. You probably, if you have thicker paper, like construction paper or an art paper from a sketchbook or something, that would be a little better than printer paper or just paper, but you can totally use any kind of paper you have, it doesn't matter. So we're gonna start today, and I wanna go over one thing with pencils, and that is this. When you use a pencil and you write words, you're kind of used to the pressure you push down and the degree of how hard you press to get your pencil to work. If you've ever drawn with a pencil, you might have done some shading and you might have faded out a little bit by changing how hard you press with the pencil. But basically, if you press down hard, you get a dark line, and if you press lightly, you get kind of a whispery shadow of a line, right? So we're going to be using those wispy, shadowy lines today. If you look, you might not even be able to see it on the video unless I get close. But if I barely press down, I get a really light line. And the advantage of that is when you're doing your first draft of your drawing, when you're sketching it out and planning ideas, if you use these light lines when you're drawing, it's much easier to erase mistakes. So for example, if I try to erase where I've pressed hard with my pencil, I can erase it, but you can still see like the hint of where you drew. If I erase where I barely press down, where there's these shadow lines, it's gone. See what I mean? So whenever you're sketching out or drawing your ideas down, it's always good to draw softly. Pretend your paper is a baby kitty cat and you're petting him softly so that he starts to purr. If you took your pencil and went whack on the kitty, he would probably not purr and he might claw you. So don't get clawed. Draw soft. All right. So we're going to be drawing softly today when we do this because we're going to be sketching out our ideas. So whenever you draw today, barely press down, draw nice and soft. Me, today, I'm going to be pressing a little harder so that you can see my lines. You are going to press super soft. If you don't, I'm going to tell your mama or your daddy or your grandma or your big brother or your sister, don't make me. I will. Okay. Now, we're going to get started. We're going to draw our funky lizard, but I want you to use those soft pencil lines, okay? So I'm going to start with kind of a head shape. And to do a head shape, I want it to look almost like a football. So to draw my football shape, I'm going to draw kind of like a frown, a sad face. And then underneath that, I'm going to do almost like a happy face. So they connect, and it makes kind of a football-y shape, okay? Now, I want it on this side of the paper where Mr. Galloway has drawn it kind of close to the edge because we're going to fill up this whole page with a lizard. And we're probably going to cut him out. So make sure you draw big so it'll be easier to cut, okay? Now, I drew my lizard's head, and you should have done that softly. Now we're going to draw the body next, and I want the body to overlap slightly with the head. To draw my body, I'm basically going to draw an oval, but I want it to overlap my head a little bit. When I say overlap, I mean the two shapes kind of cross over each other. See how this one's overlapping onto that one? And we can deal with this part later, don't worry. But my two have overlapped slightly. Now for my two front legs, I'm going to draw a slanting upward rectangle, kind of like that, and I'm going to draw one on the other side. Okay? And then I want to go up with another rectangle. So I'm just going to kind of draw another rectangle like that, and I'll do it right here, like that. So I went rectangle out, rectangle up, rectangle out, rectangle up, and then I can put little lizardy hands on the top of that just by going spike, spike, spike. Okay? Now for the back legs, I'm going to do that same thing, but I want to flip them the other direction. So I'm going to rectangle downward, rectangle downward. It's kind of diagonal. Then I want one going back, one going back, and then I'm going to put my little lizardy feet like that. Okay? Sure, I've got my little lizard without a tail. Your tail is the fun part. You could have it kind of go from the body. I'm going to sloop out like that. You can just kind of have a little curvy line however you want. But I want to do that same curvy line, but I'm going to keep getting closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to it as I follow that line until I touch the tail. So let's watch. I'm going to start back here. I'm coming down to where the tail is going to go. I'm following this line, so it kind of curves up a little bit, so I'm going to curve up a little bit. It's starting to slant down, so I'm starting to slant down, but you see I'm getting closer and closer to the tip as I go. So I got my little tail. Now here's where the eraser comes in. We want to erase all these extra lines. I want it to be one single shape. So I'm going to take my eraser, and I'm going to erase where these lines come together, where they overlap each other, so that it's a single shape. Okay? And like I said, I drew hard so you could see, so you can tell mine are not erasing all the way. If you drew lightly with those shadowy lines, hopefully yours is mostly erased. I'm going to erase this overlapping part on the head and neck. I'll erase the overlapping parts on the arms. I'm going to erase the overlapping parts on the legs, on the tail. Oh yeah. And my lizard is more solid now. He's a single creature instead of a bunch of little pieces stuck together. Now, for the eyes, you could just draw, I'm going to make my lizard kind of cartoony looking, so I'm just going to draw two little circular eyes like that. And watch, I can give them little eyelids by doing a little slanted, almost crescent shape like that. And then I could color in a little eyeball like this. Like I said, he's a little cartoony, but I think it's fun. Like that. I could give him his little nostrils. Now we're looking down on him, so you don't really see his mouth, but I could have a little lizard tongue sticking out if I wanted, like that. Now, after that, you can add anything you want to your lizard. Maybe he's got little bumps going down his back. Maybe he's got, you could make it like a Jackson's chameleon with the little horns, almost like a triceratops. You could put little frills behind his neck, like a bearded dragon. You could give him like little claw-looking lines. Any little extra details you want to add to your lizard is fine with me. Maybe he's like a one of those gliding dragon lizards that have like the little frills coming down there. Draco lizard, is that what it's called? A Draco lizard. That have the little frills so they can glide, or something like a sugar glider. But you can kind of think about what extra stuff you want to add to your lizard. I'm actually going to take those off because I have a different plan for mine. Now, the next step is we're going to outline this baby. So I'm going to take my marker, and I'm only going over the main lines. I'll do that real quick as you watch. Don't draw this extra stuff that you erased, just draw the main lines, like this. So now, since we erased all this extra stuff and we only outlined the main lines, your lizard looks like one solid shaped, cool entity of its own. Next week, we're going to do some really cool things to this. We're going to, well, you'll see, it'll be a fun surprise. But don't color your lizard in yet. I have a plan for that. Don't do it. Don't color it. Save your lizard somewhere safe so we can work with him next week. And I hope you guys had fun. All right.